Thank you very much for staying on the program. Now, President John Mahama has assured all drainage systems in the country will be fixed as a step towards preventing a recurrence of last week's flood and fire disasters that struck Accra. Over 150 people lost their lives in the disaster. Hundreds also suffered severe burns and are at the various hospitals receiving medical care. President Mahama this afternoon spent time touring some of the affected areas in Nima. Well, last he did that yesterday afternoon here in Accra to check on the extent of destruction and also console victims. Well, now, President Mahama embarked on that tour sometime yesterday in Nima to get himself first-hand experience of how the flood had affected persons in that area. Meanwhile, today he has been outlining measures to deal with future rainstorms in the capital city to avert a recurrence of last Wednesday's incident.
There are those who will wish to apportion blame, and quite truthfully, there's plenty of blame to go around. But when we list one by one the various mistakes and failings that contributed to this catastrophe, I hope it is not for the purpose of pointing fingers, but rather of making certain that something of this nature never again happens to our dear country. The conversation should not be centered on what past governments did or did not do, but rather on what this government must and will do. We should not waste the valuable resources of time predicting when another flood or disaster will claim lives. We should rather invest that time in taking the appropriate measures to prevent the possibility of such an occurrence. But that does not mean that we must leave ourselves unprotected. We must learn from the past so that we're prepared to face the inevitable events of the future.
Last Wednesday's tragic incident affected people in various ways. For this young mother, Mavis, she lost her 2-year-old in her bid for survival.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way.
Exactly a week today, for most people, what started as a normal day, for others ended up as the worst day of their life or the Black Wednesday of their lives. One of them is Mavis. This young lady lost her baby in her bid to save the baby's life, her 2-year-old daughter. Mavis is here with me and she'll be sharing her story. Mavis, Catherine,
tell us how it happened. This whole place flooded last Wednesday when it rained. We decided to seek refuge on the overpass. We were sure the water wouldn't reach that level, but we could not cross over. The water level was too high. We sought refuge at the filling station, then we realized oil suspending on the surface of the water. We felt this burning sensation on our legs. We then took the decision to cross from there to the overpass, but we could not, so we made a stop at where the carpet was sold. Next we saw fire was headed for the filling station from a house somewhere. We ran, but the fire soon reached us. It burnt my hand. I was worried my child would be burnt, so I dropped her in the water instead. Why did you take that decision? It was the fire. Look at what it did to me, an adult. I couldn't imagine what the fire could do to my child. When I lowered myself in the water, the current pulled me until it unstrapped the cloth tying my child. And I never saw my daughter again.
When you found her, where was she?
She was dead. They brought her to me. The police then sent her body to the police hospital mortuary. I am unhappy about the stories I hear. I have catered for her for the past 2 years, only for me to do this on purpose.
And yes, sir, my me banamatiti 2 years. 2 years, 2 months, money away. No masha korea na sensu ta na mesi me to me banaide actually so.
Only God can judge me, not human beings. I am pleading with the rumor mongers to stop spreading the lies. If only they were with me on that day, they would understand. I won't intentionally kill my daughter. I wish I had died in her place. People now point fingers at me that I killed my daughter.
And I mean, Shadan Sunyade, and to me banning yade, and Chineme Banny Wunu Crapo. I am Yadana Crakamisa Colonimushe, our den so more black. Mi peni ukra mi nyede mi wuna ka nyede enka kola ba de nyame baby ayede eye timi sromo se ensem na mo ka na edie ne ho ayede eye ne kura na nyame nko ame bansu na ayede ewu ntinsem mo ka fa me ba ne hu wo ne entisa se na etse na ma ayede ma chiromo.
What was her name?
Florence.
Where is the father?
He's around somewhere but not here.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again, when I see you again.
Now, last Wednesday's devastating floods that struck Accra left 2 persons dead and more than 6,000 others displaced in Tema. Areas including Community 5, 20 and Klagon were badly affected. The rain brought down houses and filled others with mud, rendering them inhabitable. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has the rest of the story.
In flooded streets, broke down walls and flooded homes carrying along mud and sticks. Survivors swam in the flood waters to safer ground but could not save their properties. Items including computers, television sets, fridges, vehicles and other furniture were all destroyed by the floods. Residents have since been sweeping their homes and scrubbing the mud left behind before they can sleep in them. At Manu Town, 2 persons died in the floodwaters. Metropolitan NADMO coordinator Hajia Zinaibu Abdullahi confirmed the deaths to Joy News.
According to an eyewitness, when the rains was falling, there was an old woman, about 95 years old woman, who was trying to cross the drain, and as a result of that, she fell into the drain. And there was one guy too who was trying to rescue some 2 young girls, also fell into the drain, and the water carried the 2 of them away.
Meanwhile, NADMO says it is providing relief items including shelter materials and food to the over 6,000 displaced persons. For Joy News, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo reporting.
The Ghana Red Cross Society says its assessment indicates that over 47,000 persons, mostly around the Circle area, were affected by the floods that hit Accra last week. General Secretary of the Ghana Red Cross Society, Samuel Kofi-Addo, tells Joy News 187 houses were either totally or partially destroyed.
Our team has been on the field and they have now completed the assessment. The assessment we did around the Circle area, that is specifically Nima, Awoshi, Alajo, Adabraka, Lower Makati Hill alone, shows that over 47,000 people currently are affected, even in that locality alone. And our assessment also indicated that we have close to 187 houses destroyed or partially destroyed. And most of these people are either staying with families or friends or in community allocated centers or areas.
So
also to of their needs. When we look at their needs, it is twofold. The first one is food and non-food items. When we talk of non-food items, we are looking at in terms of mattresses, mats, blankets, mats, sanitary pads for the ladies, and then the school kids among them. And then when we talk of food items, we are looking at what they eat in terms of rice, curry, beans, meal. So these are the needs. And also the other concern they are having is disease or health related because of the floods. It opens up for all kinds of diseases. So this is also an area where our volunteers are intensifying their efforts in terms of sensitizing the community to make sure the water that they are drinking is not contaminated, among others.
A task force from the Environmental Protection Agency Tuesday continued an inspection of fuel filling stations in Accra to check their compliance with industry guidelines. The exercise saw the shutdown of 4 fuel stations which could not produce their permits, bringing to 6 the number of stations shut down since the crackdown began Monday. Environment Minister Mahama Ayariga, who led the operation, appealed to oil marketing companies to ensure they monitor their franchises for environmental safety. Anodami has more.
You don't have a permit. You are operating your facility without an environment permit. Show us the permit. That's what I'm sure. This is what our so you don't have it. To us that
This is the Total filling station at Malam, and as you can see behind me, it's a disaster in waiting. Now, the place gets flooded whenever it rains. You can see some of the rainwater on the ground, and when we get closer to the pumps, we can see it here. It came as far as to this place. Now imagine if there is any form of oil on the ground here, we will have issues. And that's how come the EPA this morning has just come here and they have put the seizure notices on their pumps, and it reads immediately.
Give you a compliance notice that you are operating without permit, so report to the office within 48 hours. It's about 2 weeks. If not bothered to.
I was personally here.
We've made a follow-up call. You've not come. So why are you telling us that 2 weeks we served you a notice? Were you not served?
Yes.
By who?
So
you right?
Yes. And have you responded?
I told my management I'll have to call them.
So now we were also informed that your safety controls are not working. In view of that, we are stopping you from operating.
I'm appealing to the big oil marketing companies, the Totals, the Goyals, which of them, Shells, all of them. I mean, these outlets are being operated in their names, and many of them are multinationals. They should be concerned about the reputation of their brands. So they shouldn't allow any retailer who is using their brand to operate without the appropriate licensing, without the appropriate permitting, and in clear violation of environmental standards. It goes to affect their reputation also.
So if you don't have it, they are closing you down.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Kweku Ajimanjia, says the ongoing clampdown on fuel stations is unfair, a move he says will stifle private sector growth and have dire consequences on the economy. He describes the action as a knee-jerk approach which will not solve the real issues, especially when, according to him, the EPA has not followed due process in halting the operations of the companies involved. Speaking with Joy News' Derek Akosam, Mr. Ajimanjia hinted they are contemplating legal action.
In all this, I believe we have pressed the panic button. We shouldn't have. If a team has been mandated by the government to investigate the disaster which happened on that Wednesday, I think we should allow them to investigate, do their thorough findings, whatever they come out with, the root cause analysis, and also the corrective and preventive action. Then we use that to beef up our standards, existing standards. But to hasten and just go on and press the panic button and moving around and shutting down the stations is uncalled for. We think it's illegitimate in the sense that we don't, the OMCs put out these stations following the legal rules. And to be interested to know that it takes us 6 months, even if you have your funds ready, to get these stations put up. And we are the industry which has so many regulators. You go through fire service, going through town and country planning, going through EPA, going through MPA, before you finally get your stuff. Obviously, if you want to get out of, you have seen new development, new activities, and you want to make sure that the station is out of the way, yes, you need to appropriately seek the legal advice and move on. And of course, someone has invested money there, and you need to make sure that the people are appropriately compensated. And the fellow will just move. But people are going around and doing all kinds of things which we think is uncalled for. We need to hasten slowly and get the investigating team to do their work and complete their work, whatever their findings, and we'll work with it.
Would you want to seek legal clarification on this?
You know, we are watching. We are studying the situation closely. And appropriately, time comes, we'll take an action.
Or how long would you wait for them to get through with what they are doing? Because it looks like it's an everyday program. Every day they move from one place to the other. In terms of an ultimatum, how long are you giving them?
We'll see. We'll advise us accordingly as and when we move on. They behave as if the people who own the stations are from different planets. But they are all Ghanaians. They are all Ghanaians, and we want to help them to grow. Our businesses, the stations, I don't know when the stations become monsters. We have been serving this nation for the past 100 years with the stations. We have over 3,300 stations. So we think if in the middle of the stream you start doing that, you hurt the private sector. You help the private sector. And when you help the private sector, remember it has got a cascading effect. So we need to take our time. We don't have to press the panic button. Let's go through what the investigating machinery is doing, and I think we'll all be fine.
Meanwhile, Environment Minister Mahama Yariga admits though it was a tough operation, he needed to put his feet down and demand compliance with safety regulations from filling station operators.
Clearly, fuel stations would be owned by people who are affluent. It won't be a poor man's business. I mean, it's not like selling granules. So I won't be surprised if most of the people who are behind these fuel stations are, big businessmen, politicians, opinion leaders, and etc. There could be people in any of these categories more influential in society that can influence security agencies and others to do the wrong things in service of their interests. But as you saw, we directed that they should cease operation. So we hope that you will follow up to see whether indeed they are compliant, and if they are not, you will draw our attention to it. We mean what we say, and the next stage is to actually move in there and remove the facilities. We will do that, and then we'll ask them to do it. If they don't do it, we'll do it, and then we'll bail them. That's why you have to keep your eyes open. You have to sleep with one eye open, checking on these things. Keep your eyes open. Go around all the places that we have directed a week after, a month after, a year after, and find out. And if they are not complying, go on air, say it, that they are not complying, and let's see what happens.
Now, residents of Adabraka and its environs have been without water for more than a week following last week's tragedy. Consequently, the Ghana Water Company shut down pipelines in the area. The water company, however, promised to restore supply to these areas last Monday. But a week on, residents are still struggling to get water. Let's get some responses from the Ghana Water Company as to what their plans are in terms of restoring water supply to the area. Stanley Mate is Director of Communications with the Ghana Water Company Limited. He joined me over the telephone. Good afternoon, Stanley.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Why haven't these people hatched their water like you told us on Monday?
I'm a bit surprised to hear this because we are on the ground. We have been monitoring the situation, and there are several different and people in that community are still receiving water. We are also still adding up the tanker services, and I'm sure that you may have found out that the Netboat tanker services are still around, and that of Ghana Water Company Limited is also around serving the people in that community who have still not had water. So,
which areas did you take this water to? This tanker water. Which areas did you take them to?
Yes, we have been serving Madabaka area, Kokomlemle, Tesano, Caprice, Awudome, and all areas, and all those areas, and all surrounding areas.
And when did we do this?
Yes, we have been doing this since the weekend when I reported to you that the pipeline that crosses the drain has been washed off. We've also had another major burst around Achimota, and we are working on that one. And we've had some power challenges. So we've had intermittent flow, but we are still monitoring the situation, and we are very much aware that water is getting to all these areas that I'm talking about, except that anytime we go off as a result of power outage, the water does not flow. But then we are adding up the tanker services. The situation is not bad. We are very much aware of the challenges around, but the situation is not bad. We are still on the ground. We are monitoring and making sure that people get access to water.
Tony, our checks as of yesterday, some areas in Adabraka particularly did not have water. When did you release water to these people?
Yes, I'll admit that for yesterday, because a greater part of yesterday we had a power outage at a Weja treatment plant. So Weja was off. And, anytime we lose some hours as a result of any challenge at all, we lose about 3 to 4 times the number of production hours, So we lose a lot of production hours. So if you talk about yesterday, I admit that. But since yesterday 6 p.m., we have been pumping water. And I know that in the last 2 hours, Weja has gone out again. And we are hoping for...
And so they won't have water?
Yes. So we are waiting for the power to restore, and production will start immediately. I've also mentioned that we are working on a pipeline around Achimota, which was also washed away as a result of the heavy downpour. So we are also working on that. And when that is also completed, people living in that area will also have access to water. But I want to assure the general public that our men are on the ground, and wherever there's no water, we make sure that we send tanker services to the area. And if it's about a pipeline, a challenge with our pipeline, we want to assure that we are working around the clock to make sure that is solved.
I didn't catch why Weja was down. Exactly why is that so?
I informed you earlier that we had power outages for about 6 hours yesterday at Weja.
Very well. So how long would it take for regular supply to be returned to the areas we have mentioned earlier?
Yes, as I speak to you now, Weja is down as a result of power outage again. And I've also said that we are repairing a pipeline around Achimota, but that should be completed in about an hour. And when power is restored, we'll start production immediately. And because of the hours that we've lost, I'm sure that it will affect our production hours. So maybe it should take us, at least by close of day today, water should start flowing.
I'm grateful for your time.
Any
Stanley Mate speaks for the Ghana Water Company Limited. There's more to come here on Joy News Today. Don't go away. You're watching Joy News Today. I'm glad you could stay on. The Ghana Insurance Commission has directed insurance companies to put a hold on plans for the astronomical 800% increase in insurance for third-party options. Deputy Insurance Commissioner Simon Davo, who revealed this to my colleague Kuku Aban, says the Commission is taking a second look at the policy.
We were in the process of streamlining the implementation challenges, then the implementation started. So we decided to put it on hold for a very short time to ionize some few things and then to come out clearly on the way forward. I'm very sure it will not be beyond 1 month before this thing comes on board.
And the drivers have issues with the implementation. They're saying that they were left out of everything. You didn't consult them. Does it mean you are going to consult all stakeholders before you go ahead with it?
We shall consult the relevant one. So if they are relevant, they will.
And that includes?
I'm saying we shall do the necessary further consultations on this issue, and it will soon come on board.
The few months left to the end of 2015 makes it virtually impossible for Ghana to attain Millennium Development Goals 4 and 5. The country should have made some strides towards improving child and maternal health care before the end of the year. The progress has, however, not been impressive enough, mainly due to factors such as low motivation for health workers and lack of equipment at various health facilities. But experts say there is still hope.
Ghana's maternal mortality target is 145 per 100,000 live births, but the figure currently stands at 380 per 100,000 live births. This means a woman in Ghana stands 1 in 68 risk of dying from a maternal cause. A survey by PhD researchers from the University of Ghana School of Public Health suggests many factors account for this trend.
Pregnant women took out information as and when they think it is conducive for them. So it's basically based on preconceived ideas, what they've gathered from the media, from home, from friends. And even sometimes when they met their other pregnant women on the road, they'll ask, what do I do? And sometimes when they are sitting there waiting for care, they look at the way the healthcare provider is interacting with other women. Then they make a decision. Should I take this information out? But it's not only the issue of provider-client relationship. The environment isn't conducive at all. There's so much congestion, and history is taken at a place where it is so open for everybody to hear whatever is going on.
Complex factors, set of factors that really affect their health workers' motivation to provide healthcare. And motivation, what I mean is willingness to go the extra mile to provide healthcare. And these factors have to do with issue of policies, where policymakers make policies up there, like you say, free delivery service. So they now use we have increased load of patients, especially mothers, and then neonates, that's unborn children, and then babies who use these facilities, but the facilities have not been expanded. And sometimes they say when they make mistakes, managers, the way they treat them, the way they shout at them like they are children and whatnot, they don't treat them with respect, where they feel they are not being appreciated, they are not being patted on the back. So that's why they even question. They say they have this, their Lego. Your health, our concern, that's the patient's health, their concern. What about their health? Who cares?
And the 5 mortality, on the other hand, reduced from 121 deaths per 1,000 live births in 1990 to 78 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2011. Though there has been some reduction in under 5 mortality, Ghana is not likely to meet the combined target for MDG 4 and 5 by end of 2015. Experts say MDGs 4 and 5 can only be achieved through a drastic change spurred by a conscious effort from stakeholders.
We are making significant progress based on our research findings, because if you can realize that it used to be very high, but now Ghana is getting much closer and closer. So a project like this, the Accelerate project, which is basically using research to help Ghana progress towards meeting the MDG 4 and 5.
So you are sure we will meet the deadline?
I can't say that I'm sure we would meet the deadline, but I'm sure we would make some significant progress towards it.
Then what can we do to catch up?
I think we can do a lot. Our resources are a constraint, but some of the issues are more of, knowledge and creative application of knowledge. Something like raising awareness among clients that deliberately withholding information because you're afraid you'll be judged can actually work against you. If you take the crowded nature of our facilities, maybe putting a little more emphasis on the fact that actually having one client, one provider, one consulting room is very, very important. How respectfully and considerately you treat your workers will affect how they also treat their clients. They put the talking into action, and very simple action.
Ineffective healthcare systems that do not respond to the needs of mothers and children, inadequate funding for health, and the lack of leadership to address maternal and child health issues nationwide are also concerns that need to be urgently tackled by government if Ghana is to make progress in infant and maternal care. Ashi Rhyme, Joy News, Accra.
Welcome to the business segment. Now, the National Insurance Commission has directed insurance companies to put a hold on plans for the astronomical 800% increase in insurance for third-party options. It's for this reason that the Ghana Insurance Association is locked up in a meeting with the NIC over the supposed U-turn. My colleague Kuku Aban is at the meeting, well, not sitting through the meeting, but he's at the venue of the meeting, and he's join me over the telephone with a quick update on this. Hello, Kuku. Well, I think we lost Kuku over the telephone. We'll bring back that story when we get Kuku back over the line. Now, many businesses were affected by the June 3 floods that swept through Accra. Business owners lost thousands of Ghana cedis across the city. One of such businesses is the fuel enterprise in Accra. Joy News' Latif Idris visited the warehouse and reports millions of Ghana cedis has been lost.
Over 150 people died as a result of the twin disaster of fire and flood that hit the national capital. Businesses such as Fuel Enterprise also had its fair share of the disaster, as many lost their wares. Groceries and toiletries worth thousands of Ghana cedis were lost to the devastating flood. Not even the stands on which the groceries were packed could save them from the dire impacts of the floods. A stakeholder who spoke on condition of anonymity narrated the impacts of the flood.
It's unfortunate that with all the precautions taken in this warehouse, this has happened, because a lot of money has been sunk into the safety of the goods here, that pellets are no more even used, but we have raised this particular when I say stance in order that the goods will be safe. But yes, sir, with the animosity of the floods, and I would say something which has been caused by the human errors that we have caused in this country, this is where we are now. And I'm believing that God will help us to get out of these woes.
So if you are asked to quantify this monetary-wise, how much would you say that your warehouse has lost to the flood?
To be honest with you, it is very difficult to quantify it. But I will simply put it billions of cedis. And it will take even some time before you know exactly how much you have lost. Because the goods are to be moved out. Some can be retrieved anyway, but a small portion of it can be retrieved. But major part of the goods are not in good condition. And unfortunately, they are all edible things. Some are edible, some are washable soaps and the rest. So they are gone. And by ethics, you cannot put anything which is contaminated into the market. So you can see something which is whole, but it is contaminated inside, and it's, by law, you cannot put it on the market. So you will see things as they are here, but they are not in good order, and they are not supposed to be put on the market.
Office equipment, stationery, and distributing trucks, as well as money, were affected. The security man on duty at the time of the flood recounts how he survived the disaster.
In the night around, I can't tell the actual time. Then I see that the rain started falling heavily. Then I quickly called Madam that the rain started falling heavily, so the rain started entering the warehouse. And she told me I should be watching here. The time the rain was going on, then I see that no, the water is going high and high. So this thing, I have to come to the back here and check how the condition here is. Okay. So far as I know how to swim, the water is high small and it was moving fast. So I swim through the rain.
It was high enough for you to swim in it?
Yes, and I swim in it. And I pass through the other side because I can't walk inside. So I passed here, I came and reached here. I saw that no, here too is not small.
So can you give us the level?
That time the level was my weight at the first time.
Okay.
So the time I came here, when I check here finish, Madam also left her car there. Water entered the car. So I have to hold the wall, because how the water is speeding, I can't swim back again.
Okay.
So I have to go.
So at that point, it means it has gained momentum. It was now.
So I have to go and hold this wall and be walking on the wall small, and then I went to enter the guard room again. So when I entered the guard room, the water still was on my waist. But up to some time, I know that if I was in the guard room, it will not be easy for me. So there is a generator at the back there. I swim again and went and climbed the generator. That is the place I was before the water stopped, and it was coming down before the daybreak.
So you stood on the generator till daybreak?
Please, yes.
Did you doze off? Did you sleep in the process?
How can I sleep at that time of incident? Maybe if I sleep and I fell inside again, then I'm in trouble, so I couldn't sleep. I was just standing on the generator till daybreak.
Some banks, including EcoBank and HFC, that share boundaries with the warehouse, were also affected. They would, however, not speak to the news team, but blame the flooding situation on the activities of scrap dealers and market men and women at the onion market in Agbogboshi. Latif Idris, Joy News, Accra.
We can now go back to our earlier story about how the Ghana Insurance Association is locked up in a meeting with the National Insurance Commission after the latter called off the astronomical 800% increase in third-party motor insurance policy. Kuku Aban is my colleague on this beat, and he's joined me over the telephone. Hello, Kuku. What have you picked up?
Yeah, Kemi, the meeting is still underway. They are locked up in the meeting, and most of the CEOs are there. The non-life insurance companies in particular, that's motor insurance, and they're deliberating as well as strategizing on, the current issues in respect of the 800% hike in the third-party insurance premium. What they're saying is that this decision is to decide whether or not to budge or to reject the directive being given by the authorities, the minister, and also to speak about the regulator, National Insurance Commission. It's strictly confidential. They are locked, and it's locked.
Do you get a sense that the insurers are unhappy about the U-turn and the decision that was taken yesterday?
They certainly are unhappy about it, but they're saying this meeting is to decide whether they would accept it or not. And then at 3 p.m., they are meeting the finance minister and the other stakeholders at the finance minister's office to send their grievances and articulate their concerns to the minister.
Kuku, thank you very much for the report. There'll be more on this story in subsequent broadcasts here on Joy News. That's it for the segment. It's now time for sports. Don't go away. Well, that's it for the segment. Our top stories here on Joy News today. 3-day national mourning climaxed with non-denominational memorial service for victims of twin disasters 1 week after the sad incident. Meanwhile, Parliament to summon Minister of Health over the Ebola vaccine trials in the Volta region. Meanwhile, information reaching Joy News indicates the Minister of Health has called off the trials. Association of Oil Marketing Companies unenthused about EPA's crackdown on operations of some of its members. That's it for the hour. I'm grateful you could stay through the program. Thank you very much for your company. My name is Kimini Nyamani Amano.